Namaskar and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show on India's national television channel Doordarshan about Indian foreign policy, India's international relations, India's key partnerships with important countries, regions and sub-regions around the world. Viewers, this is a special episode where we are taking stock of India's relations with a very important part of its extended neighborhood, which is Central Asia. And I am really honored to be hosting 24 diplomats, scholars and researchers from 5 of the Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, who are here and being hosted in India by the Sushma Swaraj Foreign Service Institute of the Ministry of External Affairs to see India, to learn about developments in India and also about how to improve relations between their respective countries and region and India. So, welcome all of you to this special episode of Indian Diplomacy. Thank you. So friends, you have been here now and have been seeing a lot of places and especially historical and cultural monuments and such things. So, let me start by reflecting on the age-old civilizational linkages between Central Asia and India. And as you know, the two-way flow of ideas and influence of a philosophy, of religious traditions, Buddhism, Sufi Islam, there are so many factors that connect India with Central Asia going back millennia. So, I want to start by asking some of you to come in and talk about what this means, because generally you are all serving diplomats, and whenever our leaders meet, whenever there is a summit, for example, we talk about the age-old historical links. That's one of our main invocation. To begin the conversation, we always say there were all these routes and pathways by which we were connected for millennia. So, would someone want to come in to reflect to start with about this connection and how deep you think this cultural link is, and what is the relevance of it in the contemporary times? It's okay to say that during the Kushan Empire, almost 2000 years ago, that there was a commonality and a two-way exchange of thoughts and ideas and pilgrims and so on. But what does it mean in the 21st century also? Would someone want to come in, talk about this cultural diplomacy part of how our countries are linked?
I am Second Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and of course the friendly ties of Uzbekistan and India is historically roots going back thousands of years. And as a diplomat from Uzbekistan, I want to emphasize some examples such as work of Abu Rayhan Biruni, who lived in 10th century India. In which work he mastered Sanskrit and provided detailed analysis of Indian culture and traditions. And of course, I want to underline the historical ties reached their peak in the Baburid Empire, and Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, in his observations in the work of Baburnama, also provide detailed analysis of cultural and political ties between our regions. And so I want to say that we had a visit to Agra, Taj Mahal, and it's really a wonderful place. And it's not this masterpiece is not only wonder of the world, but the political symbol of our ties, the ties, political and cultural ties between our regions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, viewers, our friend from Uzbekistan is talking about the Al-Biruni and Babur and the historical linkages that tie us, not only in terms of culture but also in terms of empires and political formations. So, there is a long connection with the Central Asian region. Uzbekistan in particular, the Fergana Valley, it's historically there's been a long exchange of thoughts, ideas and political forces with that particular country. Now, it's also not only, like I said, historical legacy, but also contemporary value. So let me bring in the audience on this matter as well, because friends, we are talking about the great works, historical works, and the cultural exchanges, but what does it mean today? And if you think about the contemporary Indian cultural exports like yoga and our different forms of classical and popular music, our cinema, Bollywood, regional movie, I know they are very popular in your countries. And Yoga Day, for example, is widely celebrated in all your countries, and because of the secular legacy of the Soviet times, the Central Asian republics have been much more open historically to Indian influences. So how much of India is visible in your countries, in the society, among the ordinary people? And you are all diplomats, so obviously you study India closely, but I'm talking about the general public. How deeply is India there in the consciousness, and what are you seeing there with regard to these contemporary cultural influences of India in your countries? And what can we do more to increase the visibility and the acceptability of India in your countries? Would anyone like to come in on this?
Thank you. My name is Takhmina Saburova. I'm second secretary of Tajikistan National Commission for UNESCO at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Tajikistan. As you mentioned already, that Indian movies, cinema, songs, music, it's really popular in our country and in our region, totally. I can say that from ancient times, Tajik people are watching Indian movies and hearing Indian songs, listening to them, and even dancing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's really, we grow up at that time. And still, they are shown on Tajik TV channels. Still, we are watching them, and we
subtitles?
watch
You have
them.
subtitles, or people understand Hindi, or do they
No,
watch
it
the
is
subtitles?
translated in Russian and in English, in Russian and Tajik also, or Persian. We watch it. And what about the? We watch it with pleasure, of course, and still now up to date. Yes, it doesn't matter. You are young, you are a child, you are adult. All of us are watching Indian movies. And what about yoga? Yoga is, we can find yoga in our country, in Tajikistan. There are a few health, recreation, fitness, sports complexes where Tajik people are going to do yoga. Because yoga as an art, ancient art, which connects body and mind. In my country, they are informed about this, and they started to go to do this. So, because yoga is sport, sport is yoga. Yoga is movement, and movement is medicine. So you can find it in our country as well.
Thank you. That's such a profound thing. Our friend from Tajikistan is talking about, viewers, the influence of both the classical Indian cultural exports like yoga, but also the contemporary ones like our Bollywood and other South Indian regional cinema, our music, the dancing. It's extraordinary. I have seen the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. They bring students from Central Asia to study in our university, and some of them have been performing, on stage to dances of mixed from their own folk and theater tradition, and also our combining it with our popular. It's incredible, the fusion that we see. So really that heart and mind and soul thing that you're talking about, it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. Um, Moving on, so viewers, we have spoken about the cultural linkages, and they're very deep, and it's not trivial. Sometimes people think it is just a formality and we talk about these things, but the real thing is only economic and military. In diplomacy, in international relations, culture makes relationships thick, and that's one of the strengths we have, because Central Asia is our neighborhood. It's our extended neighborhood. At times, if you go back, in history, there were empires in India which had direct borders, undivided India, which had direct borders with Central Asia. It's only now that we have barriers, and I'll come to them. But let's move and shift gears and talk about economics, because friends, you are all in diplomacy and you all try to promote trade and investment relations between your countries and partners around the world, right? So obviously, everyone is interested in knowing what is it that India is doing with Central Asia in terms of economic give and take, and what more can we do in that area. So let me start on that point and bring someone in about the economic cooperation that is currently underway. We know, we always say Central Asia is a energy rich region. Everybody talks about its importance in the world due to that reason, right? And also minerals, for example, we have a lot of uranium for our nuclear power plants that comes from the region, and then there is also the oil and gas. Many of your countries have that unique natural wealth. So these have been the mainstays of our trade and economic relations in contemporary times. So but still, the volume of the trade between India, Central Asia as a whole, all the 5 countries together, is just around $3 billion per annum. It's much lower than what we can do, right? The potential is much higher. So would someone want to come in and reflect on the economic relationship between your country and your region and India, and what you are seeing? I know you, on this trip, you have also visited a Maruti manufacturing plant, where you've seen one of our famous indigenous car manufacturers. You are engaging with our chambers of commerce, and always commercial diplomacy is a very important element of any bilateral or inter-regional relationship. So what are you seeing in trade and commerce, the economic opportunity of India, because it's growing so fast, it's a huge market, and in the G20 it's the fastest growing major economy, and is projected to grow from 4 to 5 trillion to become 10-20 trillion dollar economy, be an equal of China and the US in the future, right? So India has that potential. So when you're here and when you're seeing all these things, the economic developments in India, what are the ideas that strike you, and what are you taking home to recommend to your governments as to what more we can do with India in the economic sphere? Would anyone want to come in? Yes, sir, please.
Hello. My name is Kairat Nurmalda, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan. Thank you very much for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here. As I'm from Kazakhstan, I can say it's a big country producing minerals, particularly oil and gas. We have strong relations, economic relations with India. From India, we export in some pharmaceutical products and lots of IT solutions for our country. Last year, our trade turnover reached nearly $2 billion. It's official statistics. And there is still gap between 2 countries and the whole Central Asian region to reach more beneficial trade relations between between our country and between whole Central Asian regions. But there is, I can say, one problem in logistics between our regions, and there is should be developed some economic corridors, which would be beneficial for more economic and trade relations. And particular, I would suggest to localize in our country or in our region some pharmaceutical industries. It will be more beneficial, not just for our region. And it's Kazakhstan, and now is whole Central Asian region is geopolitically important region, not just for Asia or for whole the world. Most of the big countries interested with our region, as you know, is sanctioned Russia, and big markets near us, China and India also will be important for us. For example, we can import from our country grain. Our country is one of the big producers of the grain, and it will be with India. It's one of the important way to growing another step in economic ties. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So viewers, our friend from Kazakhstan is talking about the different sectors. It's not only minerals, even agriculture, there's potential, even pharmaceuticals, there's potential. These are some strengths which India has, and certainly there is a room for us to enter into mutually beneficial exchanges with not only Kazakhstan but with the whole region in these issue areas. One of the points our Kazakh friend made is also interesting and worth reflecting on. The low volumes of economic exchange we have seen so far are linked to this logistical problem he spoke about, and the lack of connectivity. We don't have direct land connectivity today with Central Asia. There was a time in history when, as I said, we were contiguous and people were moving in both directions along different routes, but now we have major barriers for direct land connectivity. We have our western neighbor Pakistan, and then beyond it Afghanistan, and then we look at Central Asia if you see the map. So for us to reach Central Asia, we are unable to have direct land, and most of these Central Asian countries are landlocked and they don't have direct access to the ocean. So we need land transit, and that is something we have been working on. We have many projects but have not fully fructified. For example, there is the INSTC, the International North-South Transport Corridor. This was supposed to be a big connectivity across multiple countries, but that has taken its time. Our friend from Kazakh spoke about the sanctions against Russia, so that also makes the INSTC a little doubtful as to how successful it can be in terms of the concrete outcomes. We had in the past plans for a transnational gas pipeline. The best known was the TAPI, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, TAPI. That also could not happen because of the conflicts in South Asia, and now we have a Taliban ruled government in Afghanistan, so that's also become a hindrance because we have not recognized that new regime. None of the countries in the region, the neighbors, have recognized that regime, and that has become a big problem and another barrier apart from Pakistan, which has been trying to block India's access to Central Asia. So we have been trying the oceanic route through Iran also, and we have invested in the Chabahar port for indirect access through multimodal, through water and then by land. So these are all promising but have not yet delivered the full desired results. So let me bring in our friends from the region about this connectivity issue, especially because you are landlocked. Your economic growth historically is linked to access to the oceans, right? So what are your options and what can we do to accelerate the connectivity? Many people think only in terms of air connectivity, but here we're talking about goods, for trade, for merchandise. How do we transport them from here to there and from there to here? So even services, export of our professionals is easier through air travel, but for goods, trade in goods, you need the interstate connectivity, right? So what are the mechanisms of connectivity in your region, and what are your, because the other big players like Russia, China, they have direct land borders with your country, some of your countries, right? You have direct, but we don't have direct land borders. So what do you think we should be doing, the way you see it, and what are the recommendations you would like to make for us to improve the connectivity for trade and commerce? Would anyone want to come in on this?
Hello, my name is Zara. I'm representing the Republic of Kazakhstan. And with regards to your question, we would like to emphasize on the matters that we are actually connecting in the frameworks of different international organizations.
Yeah.
As you know, our countries, we are members of the Eurasian Economic Union. We are also connected with the Shanghai Cooperation. In the frameworks of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So I think despite of the fact that our countries are not directly connected to India, whether there is a possibility of bilateral agreements between the unions and your country, it will be possible to solve the issues with the transfer of goods and services. So that's the common comment I think that we can give on these matters.
Thank you. Yeah, so there are some regional regional formations like the Eurasian Economic Union, and India is also part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a full member. So are all the Central Asian countries. So finding maybe a free trade agreements with these groups may be helpful, because then they will open the pathways, the borders may open up. Anyone else wants to come in on what's happening with trade among yourselves, internally among the 5 countries? Have you opened your borders? Do you have a common market? Are you going towards closer regional integration? Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Azjan from Uzbekistan. You asked about trade connections between our countries. When it comes to trade and opening up borders between our countries, I should mention our president Shavkat Mirziyoyev's initiatives. He has been actively cooperating with our neighbors, immediate neighbors, to increase our trade. Uzbekistan, as a double landlocked country, has immense interests in India's international trade route initiatives, as mentioned, North-South Transport Corridor, and also in recent years, India has been actively developing Iran's Chabahar port, and India's ambitions here aligns with our country's interests in the region, but not only in the region, but in the whole world too. And India has been actively investing, developing Chabahar port, and we would get access to international water trade routes. That would help us a lot in this sense. Also, when it comes to directly connecting India with Central Asian countries, it is really important for us to reduce tariff barriers and also fees that we trade among our countries. So I think cooperating better among our countries so we can reach countries like India is one of the most important factors, I think.
Thank you so much. So our friend from Uzbekistan, we was saying that the more India engages with all Central Asian countries together, which we are doing in a summit form since 2022, we are likely to be able to reap the economic dividends more and find new means for delivery of goods and services. But viewers, India Central Asia is not just about mercantile trade and goods, it's also about technology and ideas. And this group of very talented and thoughtful diplomats from the Central Asian region are also visiting some of our key institutions. They have been to factory site, they are also being trained about India's lead role in developing digital public infrastructure DPI for the world, and they have heard about DPI and how India can be actually a provider, a net provider of solutions that can enhance economic growth and improve social conditions. So let me bring in the group about the potential for DPI, because there is a Western model of big tech companies providing technology solutions. There is also the Chinese model, which is more very state controlled and state owned, but our DPI is a very unique one, which is cost effective and also not very intrusive into the internal affairs of developing countries, and has been adopted by dozens of countries. Our direct benefit transfer systems, our digital payments, and so on. So fintech solutions, these are all new areas where India is emerging as a leader. Indian companies are innovating a lot. So let me bring in the group and ask them about what they have seen and heard about DPI, and how they can potentially be adopted in your countries. What are the problems that your business people or your general public or citizens face, which could be overcome if Indian DPI services and solutions could be adapted in your countries. Would anyone want to come in on this? Please.
So if we take a look to the experience of building digital public infrastructure of India, of course, it's one of the astonishing cases that we can use for our countries to be in the trend. Making the digital public goods and building the digital public infrastructure becoming a new trend for Central Asian region. For instance, in Kazakhstan, for now we're emphasizing in providing our services to the population and making it on the open source basis. We're trying to learn more from different countries about how making these services open sourced, because we know that it's about making the idea to available to everyone. And when it comes to India, of course, we learned a lot about the UPI that you're providing for fintech solutions. And in the Central Asia, it's crucial to Kazakhstan. For now, it has one of the unicorns in the fintech. It's a case of Kaspi. In case if you would like to learn more, I think you will see that for now, it's like the availability of all payment services and for every citizen, it's really quick. We're just providing the APIs for second-tier top banks in Kazakhstan. So that's why they can use APIs and to make their own services for population by themselves. And for this, we have the solution called Smart Bridge. It's a marketplace of services that can integrate banks and also integrate governmental bodies. That's how we are doing for now. And I think when it comes to the concept of providing the DPI for our country, we will work more on this field. And of course, we will be happy to exchange the experience between India and Kazakhstan in these matters.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, Indian low-cost innovations, viewers, are changing governance in many parts of the world without interfering in the internal affairs of these countries. What we are able to do is to provide basic solutions to service delivery, welfare schemes, reduce corruption, all these things through digitization we have been able to achieve within India. And now there is a high chance that other countries, especially in Central Asia, will look up to these ideas and try to bring them in. So this is a growth area, potential growth area for the future, because across the developing world, India has a leadership position in digital public goods, and provision of global public goods is one of the reasons why India is known as a Vishwa Mitra, or a friend for the world. And this is something we are very proud of, and I am so happy to hear from our friends in Central Asia that these ideas are appealing. Okay, now switching from economic, let's look at the region from the geopolitical and the security lens as well. Viewers, we already heard about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We are all members in it, and countering religious extremism, radicalism, fundamentalism and terrorism. This has been one of the main pillars for India Central Asia cooperation over the decades, and this is an area where we are all at risk. We have all been victims of extremism and terrorism, and we are trying to find means by which we can share intelligence and work at the level of the national security councils and advisors, and also the militaries of the two sides doing joint exercises and preparing for contingencies. And I want to bring in the group on this issue, especially given the problem that has happened in Afghanistan, which is right next door to many of the Central Asian countries, and they are facing the negative externalities of it. And we have been collaborating very closely, consulting with the Central Asian countries on what we can jointly do to prevent the inferno of radicalism and extremism from being exported into the whole region from Afghanistan and Pakistan. So on this matter, there's a lot of potential. We may still need to do a lot more. So let me bring in the group on regional cooperation with India on this matter, countering terrorism. And I know all of you come from secular Islamic countries where there is a danger of the jihadist menace getting bigger and threatening your own security also. So let's talk a bit about this matter and what we are doing right now with India. What is the potential? How can we promote a moderate values, liberal values, and how can we create a pluralistic societies, and how can we cooperate at the level of the security establishments? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Alia. I'm from Kyrgyzstan, and thank you for such interesting theme of our meeting. And I would like, first of all, appreciate our organizers. It's very interesting for us. Also, we are sharing our experience. We know India not only as a tourist, we know the India from inside, and the Sushma Swaraj Institute, it was very kind for us and organized these courses for diplomats on a high level. That means that we can share with not only our cultural experience, also with our knowledges and our experience, and etc. About our question, how we can strengthen our opportunities within the framework of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I would like to mention that also Central Asian countries and India, as a members of the Financial Action Task Force. Also, India and Central Asian countries is the members of the Eurasian. It's a regional group work, Eurasian Group on Money Laundering and
Combating financing
of terrorism. And also, India is a member of the APG Group, Asian Pacific Group on Money Laundering. First of all, we have to prevent it in the earliest stages, the financing of terrorism. And this means that we can combine our efforts and strengthen our opportunities, our forces to combat the terrorism. This means that in the early stage, when we combating financing terrorism, that means that we don't give the opportunity to act the terrorism. So that's why we have to direct our efforts to preventing, not for struggling with the
monster when it becomes big.
Yes, become the bigs.
No, thank you so much. So viewers, our friend from Kyrgyzstan is talking about the need to nip the problem in the bud, focus on the financing of terrorism, and this is where there is an effort going on among the countries. And of course also there is military exchanges also. We have a number of joint defense maneuvers and exercises to keep a close eye on what is happening in Afghanistan, what's happening in Pakistan. This has a serious repercussions for the stability and the democratic polities of our whole region. So there is really a risk that this kind of extreme fundamentalism could radicalize more young people. And mind you, in this region also there have been some groups, like we have groups like the Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba coming from Pakistan, but they also have so-called Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, Hizb ut-Tahrir, and some other groups that have attempted revolts or overthrows, uprisings and attacks. So there is a serious risk, and this is something on which we all need to be working. And there the regional mechanisms are important. That's what our friends are saying. The diplomats understand the institutional structures, and they are saying we have to work through these existing institutional structures, reform them, or invent new ones for cooperation. Okay, so viewers, so far we have spoken about the cultural links, about economic diplomacy, about security cooperation, but now let's take a look back at the big picture, and get a broader perspective. India is rising, India is becoming a major power in the world. Everybody wants to engage with India because it is the future, and it is going to determine the global order and also the regional orders. So the greatness of India is something that many are talking about with a renewed sense of hope and expectation. So what are the expectations about India, and why is India's rise beneficial to your countries? And I'd like to bring in the Central Asian diplomats who are with me to talk about what they see as the core strengths of India. What makes India such an attractive or a powerful force in your mind, or not only in terms of the government and the bureaucracy, but generally the society. If India is in 5 or 10 years becomes more influential, is that a good thing, and would you welcome it, and why? What is it about India that's appealing to you so much?
Thank you for inviting. My name is Alisher. I'm from Republic of Kazakhstan. We see the India's rise actually because India's economical growth is, I think, 5th place by nominal GDP right now in the world, and there are many cooperations between India and Kazakhstan. And I think we have cooperation in aero exploring, in space exploring, and India is strong for its IT technologies, for the IT hub in India. It's known every world. And regarding that, we also have a big military trade in the terms of INT-CAS, the security cooperation. So if India will continue its economical growth, we will look forward for bringing in the new investment opportunities for India to invest in Kazakhstan. We have many programs, we have many minerals, but it's actually hard to compete with India's question about it, because minerals to India also come from Africa and from Australia, I think.
Yeah, and we also get oil and gas from the West Asia or the Middle East.
Yes, but still the trade turnover of oil and gas export to India is about 57% remaining. Yes, thank you.
Right. So so our friend from Kazakhstan is saying, viewers, that India grows means it's more opportunity for the world. India becomes bigger and stronger means, it means we are generating chances for higher economic growth and prosperity for other countries. So it's like a rising tide lifting all the boats, in the ocean. So if India rises, then it takes along so many other countries. Viewers, we have been talking to the Central Asian diplomats so far about their views about the India-Central Asia connection, and also what more we can do together. Let me come to the close of the show by inviting our friends here to talk about something about India that will stay with their heart, in their hearts and minds. Cultural diplomacy, this is a part of, in a way, it's a part of cultural diplomacy that these kinds of groups are being brought by our Ministry of External Affairs to experience and to familiarize themselves with India. So let me ask our friends something they saw or something they heard, something they experienced about India that really touched them personally, and which will help them to maybe tell the story better when they go back to your, not only to your colleagues in the ministries, but also to your families and your relatives. Anything about India that captivated your heart?
When we visited Taj Mahal in Agra, our guide, he mentioned one idea which I think should be mentioned here, because India is all about the love. Everything here is based on love. The architecture, the history, if you take a look to the historical background, you see that everything was done with love and was based on love, and this was really inspiring for myself. And I see we talked a lot about making India great in the fields of military, in the fields of digital cooperation and so on, but I think India is one of the best examples on how to use soft power. For me, I still remember Mithun Chakraborty. I know a lot of Indian actors. Yes. And as my colleague from Tajikistan mentioned, we really grew on the movies from India, and I still remember them even if I was a child. And I think if India continues to use its soft power, it will be really great to all Central Asian region.
Thank you so much. So viewers, the group is saying that India is a cultural powerhouse, and its soft power really appeals to Central Asians. And even during the Soviet times, when they were all part of the USSR and under the empire, even in those days, you know, the Indian songs and Indian movies, and always you know, they have danced to the tunes and sung to the melodies that we had. So surely that must be any other things about India, ma'am? Yes, ma'am, which appeal to you?
Hello, my name is Saudat. I'm from Uzbekistan. Indian elements such as yoga, Indian songs and cinema is very popular in Uzbekistan. And our ties between Uzbekistan and India also very developing in nowadays. And especially I would like to express my gratitude to Her Excellency Ambassador of India in Uzbekistan, Smita Pant, and our Ambassador Sardar Rustambayev, that the two efforts to strengthen our relationships, even in a such way also people to people. So what else I would like to say? Our relationship in defense, also in security, also is in a high level. Last year in 2023, it was IT laboratory in Uzbekistan. It's completed from Indian government, and that's why I would like to thank Indian government for this. What else I can say about yoga? Yoga also we use to celebrate it in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent. And we do a lot of affairs and some practices. We organize such kind of practices, inviting international level yoga masters. We invite. That's why just once again my gratitudes. We want to thank our Minister of External Affairs of India to organize such kind of courses, diplomatic courses, where we can to know about India a lot. For example, we have been in Jaipur and we have been to Agra, and it's very beautiful places. We liked too much, and Indian people also we liked their character, mentality, and of course the last words about culture and education. In educational field, we have more than 5,000 students, Indian students in Uzbekistan. And we have 3 branches of Indian universities and institutes in Uzbekistan. So we are ready to cooperate further.
Great.
Thank you.
Educational cooperation, usually it's not often mentioned in when we do analysis of bilateral or interregional relations, viewers, but this is an area where our institutions are now setting up branches. Many of our Indian institutes of technology, for example, the famous IITs, we are now setting up branches around the world and to train young people through our scientists and our professors. So this is also one area, and of course we bring students from those countries, and our students also go study in these Central Asian countries. Even from the Soviet times, there is a history of Indians going there to study medicine and pharmacology and other kinds of subjects. So education is also one area which makes India appealing. Let me open it up to the group for other ideas. So what are the other things that we can do between India and your countries? Any other? We have already covered a lot of ground, but any last thoughts on new issues or new areas in which we can look for potential cooperation that will help both sides?
My name is Kamaluddin. I am from Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Tajikistan, Second Secretary from Department of Middle East and Africa. I would like to thanks on behalf of our colleague and gratitude to the government of the India and the Ministry of External Affairs for the invitation to participate in the third diplomatic course with the Central Asia countries. Tajikistan is the initiative of water resources in the world, and I would like to say also that with the initiative of the Republic of Tajikistan has announced the glacier preservation which will be held in Tajikistan in 2025. In this regard, we have opportunity to strengthen cooperation between Tajikistan and India in this sphere. As we see in the India, that water is a little bit problem.
Yes.
Fresh water nowadays is very important to every country. In this regard, I'm kindly asked to strengthen cooperation in this field.
Thank you so much. Viewers, our friend from Tajikistan is talking about water resource management, melting of glaciers. All these are linked to climate change, and we need innovative solutions and international cooperation. Without international cooperation, we cannot achieve any of our climate related targets. So it's a point well taken. So let me close the show by summing up this discussion for you viewers. Central Asia has enormous untapped potential. People may just think in terms of minerals and energy, but it's not the only factor. There's so many other issue areas we have covered today. So do think about India Central Asia relations in the entirety. There is the cultural dimension, there is the economic, there is also security, geopolitical and military cooperation, there is the counter-terrorism cooperation, and above all, it's also about India's influence and soft power. There is a new book by William Dalrymple called The Golden Road, where he talks about the ancient times, how India shaped the world with its ideas, with its culture, with its philosophy, with its religion, and with its attractive values. And he talks about how Eurasia, including Central Asia, were places where Indian influence was at a very high level. Now in the contemporary 21st century, we are trying to revive those through these kind of linkages, through these kinds of very interesting training programs being organized by the Ministry of External Affairs, where we are bringing in influential policy makers from the Central Asian region here, so they can see with their own eyes about the transformation of India, and also brainstorm about the potential to enhance the two-way trade, security cooperation, cultural exchanges, all to a higher level. So, Central Asia will become more and more important in the coming decades, not because just of its position and of its economic wealth, but also because of its young people, its talented ordinary citizens who are aspiring for better lives and for improved governance, and that is where India can come in. India can help build institutions. These are relatively new nation states, only around 35 years of existence since they broke away from the Soviet Union. So, in a way, these countries are still solidifying their structures, and this is where India can come in with its longer experience of democracy and of institution building. So, let us keep an eye on India Central Asia relationship. It is going to be a defining one as we go forward, because it is not just China or Russia or the US anymore. India is rising, viewers, and we will need to be present in different corners of the world to begin with in our own extended neighborhood, which is Central Asia. So, thank you folks, thank you all for sharing your valuable insights, and I really appreciate it very much. Thank you for being in India and for spreading the good word about India. Viewers, let us cheer for India Central Asia relations. Let us come up with new ideas which can enhance this relationship and take it to the next level. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Until then, take care.